Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another Create-A-Sim for the Disney Save. Today we have a really long Create-A-Sim video. We are going to be making 10 Sims, so this is definitely a bit of a longer one. Get comfy. We are actually doing a whole household full of 8 Sims plus 2 more, and these guys are going to be the Bug Circus Sims, are the way that I've been describing them. They are from Bug's Life and they are all of the circus characters. I had to break them up into 2 households. Essentially, there were just too many characters, and the way that I decided that made the most sense to keep all of the main bugs together, including PT Flea, who's kind of like the ringmaster of the circus, and then Tuck and Roll are kind of like a set of brothers. They're twins, and they are a little bit more reclusive from the group, or I felt like if I was going to remove 2 or 1 sim, they were the ones that made the most sense to do so. So they are going to be at the end of the video in their own separate household. And so the way that this works, if you didn't see the last video, definitely recommend that first because it's their cute little circus themed home and lots of bug themed bedrooms. They all came out really good. If you use that house as a regular residential, then you'll have your 8 sim household with most of the characters that you're probably going to remember from Bug's Life, and then Tuck and Roll would be townies. And that's probably the way that I'm going to put them into the save for now, because as you guys know at this point, I'm not implementing rental residentials at this current time. I'll definitely let you guys know when that changes, because I would like to use them and I definitely have plans for it in the future. But right now, I'm still nervous about it for various reasons that I've already explained, so I'm just not using them currently. But if you're comfortable with it and you want to change this residential over to a rental residential, then you can just have 2 separate households and have everybody live on that one lot. Now, just to get this out of the way, if you hear a slight echo or a little bit of an audio change in today's video, I do apologize. It'll probably be that way for the next few videos that you guys see. My husband and I are redecorating our bedroom, and that included getting a brand new bed, which we are in desperate need of and very excited for. But unfortunately, we ordered the bed and then they told us it was going to be here on one date, and they changed it to 3 weeks further out from the date we had originally chosen. And we actually already got rid of our other bed. So there is very little furniture in my room right now, which creates a little bit of an echo for audio, and I do apologize. Nobody is more upset than my husband and I, rest assured, because we are sleeping on the floor on a mattress for, we thought was going to be a couple of days, but it is actually going to be close to a month, and it's already been miserable. The mattress is super thin and I can already tell I'm getting sick from doing it. So in other news, let's get into today's actual Sims. We are starting out first with Miss Gemma. She is a moth, and that's kind of like what she's based off of. So obviously when it came to doing all of the characters today, I am basing them off of what kind of creature they are actually in representation of. So that could mean little things like carrying over eyes and colors, and then of course their character and how they're designed in Bug's Life. So like what colors are used in their character design, or any features that would easily translate over to human characters. Something I actually found really helpful in this process was finding the Disney Parks versions of these characters, because they are essentially humans wearing a bug costume of sorts. So however they colored that or placed it or kind of designed it to work well with a human body translates over really well to the game. She was such a great first character to start out with. She really sparked a lot of inspiration. I wanted to play with the ombre colors for her, the netting, because I kind of think of moth when I think of that. And then she's got these like bright purple legs that kind of resemble boots or shoes as well. I also really felt like she would just be a little bit of a free spirit. She would definitely like makeup. She's the magician's assistant and she is shown in the film doing her makeup. So she would have like lots of really pretty butterfly makeup or mothy type of colors, ombre colors, lots of jewelry. I also think that Gemma would be like a little bit of a collector. Like she would like shiny things and she would wear lots of jewelry. So I gave her some in today's video, but she actually gets more outside of the video. I gave her some rings and some bracelets and stuff like that. So Gemma is actually a human, which all of my bug sims up until this point have been or are planned to be aliens. I'll kind of explain that a little bit more in the later parts of the video because it's going to get a little bit confusing. But the reason I made Gemma a regular human was because of her colors, essentially. She has a lighter tan kind of base that's fur because she is a moth, and I wasn't able to accomplish that if I made her an alien. The other thought is she would make a really, really good fairy. Like, imagine her with some little fairy wings in blue, like the same color as she has in the film. She makes a great candidate, and I'm so confident that we're getting fairies in the lifetime of The Sims 4 that I just decided I would make a really good base for her that's already human leaning, and when fairies comes, we'll go back and update her and give her her wings. The other characters, the rest of them, are all meant to be aliens with the exception of 2. We're going to be doing all occults though, which is exciting. We've got a couple of vampires in today's video. Even though everybody is meant to be an occult, some of the characters I'm going to be creating will be done as humans first because the color options weren't available for skin tones. If I wanted to do something that was a little bit more natural leaning, even like those gray colors and tans and those kinds of colors, you can't pick that for alien sims. So what I'm doing is making them as humans, and then I'm going to use MC Command Center to turn them into aliens and hopefully keep the look and the design that I've created. So they'll look like humans, but they will definitely still be aliens and function like aliens, which is really the goal. Next up is Manny Mantis. He is actually Gemma's husband, and he obviously gets to be like a full-blown alien because he is based on a praying mantis. So he's like a green color. I gave him the CC antenna that I had used back in the Bugs Life Ant Create-A-Sim video, and those will be featured on a lot of the characters today. I'll also link them down below like I did for the other Create-A-Sim. It's CC, and you know I don't really use custom content for the save, but I feel like just for these characters in particular, it really helps to like visualize the full look of how it's intended to be, and it gives them a more bug-like appearance. It's just like one little item that would really carry it over, and it looks good for my thumbnails and things, so I'm making a very rare exception in including them, but of course when you download the save, it will not be necessary. They will not be included in the gallery uploads, and it will all be CC free. So this is just to kind of like get the full picture, and I think it really helps like visualize the bugginess. Manny is also very free-spirited, a little bit whimsical. He is a magician, and the plan is I'm gonna make him, instead of like making him a full-blown spellcaster, which I think like you could have done, but he's not really like a true magic user. He's more of a practical magic, like card tricks and hat tricks type of person. So if anything, I thought it would be fun to do like the seance table and have him be able to do readings for people, especially at like low levels, and you'll get that like, I don't know, lower level, medium, cheaper circus kind of vibes. Like if you've ever gone to see a psychic and you pay $5 to go in and see some lady talk about your life, it's kind of giving that. It's not meant to be this like very professional, authentic experience. He's not super skilled. He thinks he is though, and that's kind of the way that I'm thinking of him in my head, is he really believes that he's like the next most amazing magician that's ever happened. He just hasn't been discovered yet, but he is really not, and everybody just kind of humors him, with the exception of his wife Gemma, who is truly, truly supportive of him. You could say a little bit out of touch, but we still love him, and he's actually an adult sim. So we've got a young adult with an adult in a marriage, which is kind of cool because I always like to do those like different sort of dynamics. Usually it's going to be like 2 adult sims married, and I guess it depends on what you think of for what the ages are canonly in your head, and everybody's got that a little bit different for themselves. To me, I feel like young adult sim is like anywhere from 20 to 30, and then the adult sims are like anything above 30, but it really does depend on who you ask and what you think personally, so it doesn't really matter, but I just wanted to point that out as a little detail for their relationship. Just as a side note, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, but just so nobody's confused, when I make alien sims, one of the reasons that I typically do not do the human form for that character is because the plan is, at least some of the time for these characters, this is definitely the case, you can use MC Command Center to copy over their alien form to their human side, and this makes it so that if they switch between alien and human, it actually doesn't matter. They look exactly the same, which for some characters you wouldn't want. So back when I did Eve, she is an alien and she has 2 forms, and I feel like that really works for her character. She's an alien because she literally comes from space, and like other than being able to do robot sims, which we do have in the game, but they are not the version, I guess, that I would want for a character like that. I might use them for other characters in the future, but it just didn't really work for Wally. Making her an alien made more sense, and then doing 2 forms for her, kind of like her human, earthier form that she's trying to blend in with society and like live with Wally and be a part of the people. That makes sense, and then she's got her like space working boss girl uniform kind of look. But then when I did the Lilo and Stitch characters and I ended up doing a lot of aliens back in Sulani, I really didn't want like Jumba and Pleakley to have human forms. They don't have human forms in their movie. They are quite literally aliens. So I figured out how to use MC Command Center to just copy over their form to the human version. This is an early occult that we got like very early on in the life of The Sims 4. So I feel like it wasn't as fully executed. And now when you make like a vampire or a mermaid, you can turn on their second form and it will move both at the same time when you're creating them so that they're at least similar looking. But that's not how aliens work. They are completely detached from one another, and when I make my sim, the other form doesn't change at all. So I would have to try to make like an identical sim, and it's just not going to work out. So that's why they're getting ignored for the video, but when it comes to the save and the versions that you'll download off the gallery, they will be taken care of before they're even available to you guys. So we are on to Dim. He is a rhinoceros beetle. He's mostly blue, but he has these like varying shades of like kind of one of those reflective type of surfaces where if you turn it slightly in the light, it changes color. It's not quite ombre. And he was like really tough, but not as tough as some of the other characters that come down the line a little bit later in the video. I think I just didn't really know exactly like maybe some more details, whereas Manny and Gemma were very, very easy to spot and kind of like picture. I didn't know exactly what a rhinoceros beetle looked like as a sim, but I think that using like the color reflection, the ombre, the bodybuilder aspect, the like industrial kind of look for him, and making him obviously larger definitely makes a lot of sense. I also found, and this is going to be used all throughout today's video, there is a newer makeup. It's in the face paint section, and it is from The Sims 4 Lovestruck. It is, I think, a highlight that goes kind of all over the face. It goes on the cheekbones and the nose, and you can use the hue sliders to really manipulate the colors on it and create some really fun changes in colors. And so what that does is makes it so that I can change the face colors and add kind of like different tones to a Sim's face, or some light shades of ombre and varying just like texture to their face. So I really wanted to play with that makeup for some of the bugs, and definitely for Dim, because again, he's got that like color changing reflective look to him. If you remember back when I did my Luca Create Sim, I had mentioned that a lot of the characters were supposed to have ombre sort of skin, and it was tough because you have to pick one color. But this makeup actually changes the game a little bit for me. I'll be able to add it to some characters to just give more variation to their skin tone, at least in the face. It's too bad you can't use it all over the body, because it would honestly be super helpful for me, but I'm happy to have at least this for now. So Dim got it. I changed it to like a lighter blue color, and that gives him some different tones in his like facial colors and things. And then some other characters in today's video will also be getting that. That's going to be like a staple for me when it comes to making these really strange looking Sims for the rest of the save file. Moving on to Miss Rosie. I am so excited about her. She's definitely my favorite for today's video. I actually bought a brand new kit just for her. I purchased the Goth Galore kit. I looked through like a bunch of the kits, and I was kind of like in the market for a few of them anyway. I wanted to pick some of those CAS kits up that I have been kind of ignoring, and she was just the perfect candidate to use some of those items, because the idea behind her character is that she is a vampire, but she's a good vampire. Like, she doesn't really want to hurt anybody. She'll use like plasma packs, and she has the good vampire aspiration, which is one that I have not used for the save so far. She's got like that motherly presence as it's described on Disney Wiki. She's very kind, very generous, very sweet. There's a little bit of a dark side to her, and she's like aesthetically very goth leaning. She likes darker colors and brighter reds and like goth clothing, and her bedroom is very darkly lit and has like cobwebs everywhere. So aesthetically, she's very much on one side, and then her personality, she's light, bubbly, kind, generous, motherly. And I feel like I've met a lot of people like this in real life, where their aesthetic is just so opposite of, I guess, the stereotypical personality that we might associate with certain things. It makes her very unique. It's also super true to real life. It's like a real life trope that you can definitely see. I did her with Dim because they have a circus act together. So she's kind of like a, I think it's called a, you would say like lion tamer, and then Dim is supposed to be some kind of a lion or some kind of a creature that she is a tamer of. And the reason that that's obviously funny is because they're both a little bit passive personalities, or at least like kinder, more gentle personalities, and they're doing something that is a little bit like gruesome leaning and unethical. As far as her sim looks, she was very easy to do. She kind of has a human-like look to her anyway, with the way that her face was designed. She also has this like widow's peak sort of hair that comes up at the top of her head. So I was able to find this bun hair that I never use and has a very similar shape. Very exciting for her. I also wanted her to have pops of red and do some like deeper makeup, some red lipstick, some red earrings, some nails and things. And then I completely decked her out in the Goth Galore kit. There are definitely a few in there that you could have chosen when you're designing her character. I ultimately ended up going with a couple of the swatches that contain some kind of spider web on the actual design. I just couldn't ignore it. It's too perfect for her. And then I kind of was like scrolling around for a while in the CAS catalog trying to find maybe some tights and things that like the kit doesn't come with to add in addition to her. And we actually do have a pair of tights that has some spider webs on it, which again, like it's a lot, but you can't ignore it. It's too perfect for her character. It really like screams her entire persona. It's just like absolutely fell into place perfectly. I'm always so excited to add another vampire to the save. I don't get a ton of opportunities to add them in because it doesn't always work with like what I'm actually doing. And there aren't any that I can think of like canonly vampires in any Disney media, except you could make an argument that there are some in Nightmare Before Christmas, but I kind of already addressed some of those characters and it was a little tough. Like they're kind of background characters, that sort of thing. If you think about like actual magic users and occult leaning characters, there really aren't any vampire depictions. So it has to be a bit of a stretch when you're trying to include those occults, make it a little bit more diverse in the save. So she makes a great addition to this overall. And she only gets one form. She's not going to have her second form the same way that the alien sims are not getting two forms, even though they kind of have to. For vampires, you get the choice. You can add a second form if you want to. So for her, I'm just not going to do it. She is my absolute favorite. I was so excited about her. It made me miss back in my Twitch days when I would stream and be able to kind of create characters alongside you guys, because she was just a blast to create and I really wanted people there to like, I don't know, vibe with me over it. Next up, we have Slim. So he is a great example of what I was mentioning earlier, which is that I am using a human sim to create him, but the intention is that I will be making an alien, or I will be turning him into an alien. I just essentially have to put in a cheat code and then like copy over his look and everything. I know I've done it before, I've just never done it exactly like this, so I'm hoping that it works, but it should. It's also good for you guys to see the characters with more human-like eyes, because if we're honest, the character designs from Bug's Life, that's one of the things about the bugs. They actually don't really have bug eyes. I think in an effort to make them look a little bit more relatable and like fun and sell toys, they made the characters look as human-like as possible, and that most definitely included the eyes. So the alien sims are locked to a very specific set of eyes that, in my opinion, look more bug-like, but don't actually look very true to the characters. I think because of the simplicity of Slim, he is probably the most difficult character to create. There is just not a ton to go off of. He is a stick bug. There is like no multiple colors. It's tones of brown. If anything, you've got some paneling. I was able to find a Disney Parks reference of like a person wearing a character costume for him, which was cool. So I can kind of see how they paneled it out and did the armor and where it cuts off. And that kind of helps me decide, like, maybe are they going to wear long sleeves? Are they going to wear shorts? Like, it kind of like points in the direction for clothing for me. But I knew I wanted monochromatic. That's kind of like the vibe here. I wanted either like ombre if the bug has some kind of ombre on it, or just a lot of like monochromatic clothing. Simple for him, clean panels, clean lines. The way I kind of thought about him for the save is that he is a sim that is in the circus, but he truly wants to be like A-list celebrity, real big time famous. So he's a little bit pretentious. He also takes his work super seriously. He's gonna show up on time. He's gonna be like a little bit nicer dressed than everybody. He is like really big time about his work because he thinks he's gonna get discovered through the circus. And he wants to be like, I think his aspiration is that he's gonna be a world famous celebrity. So he has like that polished look to him and just maybe like a little bit nicer clothing, where for Gemma and Rosie, I felt like I could do more netting, more ombre colors, less like more circus leaning, and he's like kind of stands out because he's in a polished kind of way. He is also why I knew I had to at least try to do this with making them a human first and then changing them to an alien later, because just like going over the different images and the references for artwork from this movie, he was the one that I immediately was like, the only color I have to work with is tan. So I need to probably go with like a tan skin tone and tan clothing and tan eyes or brown eyes. So he had to look like that. There was just no other way to do him. Otherwise, what would I even pick? Like like green, I guess, would be the closest alien color that I could lean towards, or I guess red, but I don't even think that's an option. The same can be said for the next sim, that is Francis. He is the ladybug. I think I was really intimidated to take this one on because he also has very human-like looking features, but they're very specific, and he is a character that's a little bit hot-headed, and he specifically has like a plot line in the film where he is often identified or misidentified as a girl, and he has a little bit of an issue with that. So he's got a very particular look to him. He does have some makeup, he has some lipstick and those sorts of things on, which makes for a really interesting design. It was like kind of fun to do him, but he also has this like really weird gray sort of skin tone, which I was thinking about like a ladybug, and that doesn't really make sense at all, but I guess they just needed not black because it would have been hard to design aesthetically and create like depth in the face and that sort of stuff. You have to remember that this is like very early Pixar, so this is back when they didn't have as many or like the best technology. It was like early stages of this type of art style inside of filmmaking in general, and that color is simply not available for aliens once again. And to create that like contrast as well with like the darker hair and the darker clothing and then like pops of red for the ladybug wings, you could even argue that he could potentially be a fairy as well, although I don't think I'm going to go that direction for him. He's giving more bug alien, like kind of like the rest of the crew. Slim and Francis and the one we'll be doing right after him, which is Heimlich, are all clowns, so I kind of wanted them to go together in the video, but I also felt like they needed to be able to stand together and kind of make sense, like look like a group of people. I always try to make everybody match or have clothing that kind of like doesn't conflict with each other, and especially like inside of the own movie. And for this one, it's a modern sort of film, so you can get away with like a lot of clothing options, and then you've got the background like circus theming, the science and bugs and like that kind of leaning aspect, so you could do so many different clothing type of options. But the goal was when they're all like standing next to one another or in a group, hopefully they aesthetically look similar or look like they kind of go together. And that leads us into Heimlich. He's kind of like a softy, shy, clumsy sort of sim. He wants in the movie, he's a caterpillar that wants to get turned into a butterfly, and that's like one of the only lines he has in the movie that he repeats a few times over, and you would probably remember him for that reason. So I really was trying to think about like what could I even do with him as far as aspirations to carry that over. That was a really difficult one, but the way that I kind of think of his character and like the way I'm able to translate it into The Sims is he wants like self-growth. He wants to be the best version of himself. He's kind of like clumsy and awkward and not so confident, and he wants to be the opposite of all those things. Very confident, very brave, very outgoing. So he's got like, of course, like a very specific look. He's green, which means we can go right in with the alien look. The eyes, I think, actually add to the character. And then here is where you can really see me using that Love Struck highlighter face paint to its best ability, because he has very contrasting like pink, red spots on his cheek. So I wanted to bring some of that color into his face, and this was definitely the best way to do so. It brings in like the dual tone, and it looks a little bit more like a blush for him, but you can even sort of see it on the nose and on the lips and things. He's a very specific type of caterpillar, and I don't know what it is, but they have this like little orange spot that runs down their back, coming from the top of the head all the way down their spine. So I thought it would be kind of funny to do like an orange mohawk, like kind of running down the middle back of his head. I have to say, I don't really get opportunities very often to do Sims that I get to design so heavily. Like I'm usually going off of very specific references, and people will call me immediately in the comments and just in general if I change something even a little bit, or I don't remember a bracelet for a certain outfit or this and that. So it's really nice and refreshing when I get to do characters like this that they don't have a specific design to go off of, or they're not human. So you can't really tell me exactly how they look. I just have to get the vibe right, the colors right, and maybe pull some details into their clothing and their designs that makes a lot of sense. But ultimately it's like fun. It's a good challenge for me. It reminds me back when I used to do like my Pokemon themed Sims. It was one of my favorite things that I ever got to do, and it was just a lot of fun for the same reasons. You kind of get to bring in like the animal nature and like the little quirky details and like find some way to make it represented in the outfit, which is so fun. Heimlich was probably the most difficult to dress, but I ended up making him a vegetarian for obvious reasons, and I felt like he would love fruit. He's shown eating food a few times, I think, in the film, so giving him this little like fruit shirt that's a very similar color but like a couple of additional tones undertones of oranges and yellows makes sense. It looks perfect for him. And then I ended up adding gauges, which I never get to use, but it's supposed to represent those red patches on his cheeks yet again in like a different way. The last sim for this household, but not for the video, we're gonna have two more at the very end, is PT Flea. He is the ringmaster of the circus. He's also a vampire in the household. He is supposed to be a flea. So one of my patrons had the really funny idea that he would be a vampire for obvious reasons. It's a really cool opportunity again to add another vampire, and he only has one form for the same reason that Rosie only has one form. He's kind of like disgusting vampire. He is everything that Rosie is not. He would definitely prey on anybody that he comes near, and that's kind of like his whole persona. He is like a predatory businessman. He only keeps relationships and friendships with people that he feels like can make him money. He's a business owner. He's just not the type of person and not the type of vampire that you want knocking on your door at 2 in the morning. He's really nasty. He's really gross. We hate him for it. And he actually came out so good because, again, that Love Struck highlighter, I'm able to add kind of like a shift to his skin tone, which is a green color, because ultimately he is the weirdest shade of like this in-between gray, green, yellow that is just not available in the game. I spent a lot of time going through skin tones trying to figure out if anything had an undertone that was more green leaning that I could use like hue sliders or sliders to like pull out of his face, and it wasn't working at all. So I ended up with a gray, and then I figured if I could use some makeup to like add green shifts to his skin, that was going to give the best result, and it definitely does. The other thing about Fleas and like about his character design, very hairy, very gross. So I gave him a lot of body hair. He has kind of like a mullet style hair with some braids in it that's a little bit more messy. He's got like a mustache that is not well kept at all. It's kind of forcing its way through. He's just not like a well-kept sim. He's also very dirty. I settled on an outfit for him that I have never used before and I was really excited about. It is from the Halloween stuff pack, and it's one of the like ripped and tattered, I think it's supposed to be zombie outfits. It looks like a school uniform, but it's got a lot of holes in it and dirt on it, and then paired with some of the werewolves like holes in the shoes type of things. He's got holes in everything, rips and tears. He doesn't look well kept. He is a slob sim, and I love him. He's so unique. He's going to be a really great antagonist for this household. And then to round it out with our last two sims, we have a set of twins. This is Tuck and Roll, and they are based on pill bugs. They are absolutely identical in every way. Normally when I make twins or triplets, most commonly in the save file, I will make some slight adjustments to their facial structure just so that maybe you can tell them apart, but also so that I feel better about it. But for these guys, I made one of them and just cloned him and kept him exactly the same, and he is the other one in an effort to kind of make them hard to distinguish from one another. In fact, the only difference between the two of them canonically in the film is that one of them has a unibrow instead of two. So that's the only difference, and the only way that you're going to be able to tell them apart. Definitely use some makeup and some different like scaly sort of things. They're a tough design ultimately, and one of the like less successful adaptations that I think I've done here, but still works. They serve in the circus as like stunt performers, specifically cannonballs. So they're very party animal, quirky, crazy, insane, hang out with one another, stuck at each other's hips, and indistinguishable as anything other than sort of like a pair. And that is actually going to be the end of today's Create a Sim for Bug Circus. Let me know what your favorite sim was down in the comment section below. The next video for Bug's Life is going to be Bennett's Bug Bar, which is shown in Bug City, and it's also where the circus bugs hang out in the film and where Flick goes in to kind of like get them all together and try to rally them to help him with the ant colony. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter speed build, and I'm excited to share it with you guys, so stay tuned for that. If you'd like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching today, and I will talk to you all in the next one.